I'm Harley Smith, and this is the Master Growers course. Today we're going to be looking a little bit more in depth at plant nutrition and going into organic biostimulants. Now, in past classes we've looked at the minerals, the essential elements that plants need. Those are the fertilizers. If plants need 17 essential elements to grow and reproduce. But organic biostimulants aid with the uptake of water and minerals. They're biologically active molecules that chelate minerals, make it more available, keep minerals from locking up in the soil, and also stimulate the plant to take up minerals for cellular metabolism. So we'll be looking at biostimulants in more depth today. The first question is, do plants need organic biostimulants? The answer is no. Plants are autotrophic. They make their own food. They make biostimulants. They take in carbon dioxide through the air, they take up water through the roots, and then in the presence of full spectrum light, they make photosynthase. They make their own food, sugars. Some of those sugars they use for energy, to grow, to reproduce. Some they store in the flowers and the fruit. But some of those carbohydrates, they leak from the roots to feed the plant growth promoting rhizobacteria and the mycorrhizal fungi. And in exchange for those sugars, the microorganisms make biologically active molecules. And those molecules aid with the uptake of nutrients. Microorganisms make B vitamins right on the surface of the roots to protect their food source and to stimulate cellular metabolism. They make rooting hormones right on the surface of the roots to tell the plant to make more roots. They make organic acids and enzymes that aid with the uptake of iron and copper and manganese and zinc. They unlock phosphorus from the soil and feed it to the plant. So plants don't need the microorganisms, but plants and microorganisms have co-evolved on the planet, not just to help each other survive, but to help each other thrive. And that is the origin of organic biostimulants. So biostimulants improve the uptake of water and minerals, stimulate the plant's natural resistance to pests and disease, condition the plants to better handle stress, and generally improve quality and yields. So organic biostimulants are organic molecules which, when used in small quantities, have a dramatic or significant physiological effect on the plant. So they're different than organic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers provide all the minerals that plants need, but these are used in very small amounts, and that's what makes them biostimulants. Biostimulants improve the uptake of water and minerals. And remember, the more efficiently plants take up water and minerals, the more chemical reactions they can do, the higher the Brix. Brix is a measurement of the sugar content in the sap. If we can grow such healthy plants that the Brix is at 12% or higher, sucking insects won't even recognize the plant as food. They'll go someplace else. So high Brix plants are healthy plants. So biostimulants improve the plant's natural resistance to pest and disease. Biostimulants also condition the plants to better handle environmental stress. I'm going to show you today how to condition your plants against stress before the stress happens, so they'll recover more quickly and continue to grow. And generally, biostimulants improve quality and improve yield. That's a good combination. My personal journey into biostimulants began in the Netherlands. Back in the year 2000, the Dutch government made all fungicides illegal on food crops because, at least at that time, all known chemical fungicides had at least the potential for negative side effects on human beings. So the Dutch government said, no more. We need to protect our food supply. We need to protect our people. The problem was for the growers. They were growing in hoop houses with high humidity. So even in that first year, they were losing 40% of their crop to powdery mildew, to gray mold, to other fungi. The growers had to do something, so they turned to scientists in Germany. that were developing natural biostimulants at that time for pollution control, to unlock minerals in the soil to help prevent pollution. But the scientists had found that it had effects on quality and yield as well, and on disease resistance. So in 2001, I was invited to go to the Netherlands to interview the Dutch growers that actually did the trials for the Dutch government on natural biostimulants. They went from losing 40% of their crop to powdery mildew and mold to losing 0. They got a 10% increase in yield over any past year, and they were first in the line for sugar content in the fruit. They had the best of the best of the berries, high Brix crops. I was impressed. I said, we need this in the United States. Back at that time, farmers were still fumigating the soils with methyl bromide, killing all the life in the soil, the good guys and the bad guys, destroying the ozone at the same time. So I knew that this was important. I saw it with my own eyes. I said, what's in it? How does it work? They wouldn't tell me. So I'm my mother's child. She gave me this gift called intellectual curiosity. I didn't know. It was my mission in life to find out. So I went back, dug into the books, biochemistry, soil microbiology, plant nutrition, looking for clues. Well, 4 years later, I solved the mystery. I put the pieces together. When I went back to the Netherlands, I started to talk to them about the experiments I was doing with the 7 primary amino acid chelators. They looked at me and said, Harley, you know more about our product than we do. And they started pumping me for information. Of course, my answer was, that's proprietary. It took me 4 years to discover it. I was just joking. I said, I'll tell you too. And I'm going to share that with you today as well, because I believe that knowledge should be freely shared. I benefit from the discoveries and inventions of others. I think it's only fair that others benefit from my research as well. So today, I'm going to give you the results of my 4 years of research into biostimulants. The answer was, the key was amino acids. Amino acids improve the uptake of calcium. Now, calcium ions, when they're taken up into the plant, react with pectic acid to make calcium pectate. That's the glue that glues the cell walls together. Now, when a mold spore lands on a leaf, it doesn't germinate in the water on the surface of the leaf. You can just wash off the spores, no problem. But it sends down a germination tube to get to the water in the interstitial space. But if we have more calcium uptake instead of water in the interstitial space, we have pectin. By the time the germination tube penetrates the cells to get to the water, it dries up and dies. So improving calcium uptake improves the plant's natural resistance to powdery mildew. But amino acids don't have calcium in it. It's a biostimulant. It improves the uptake of calcium. 2 of the amino acids, glutamic acid and glycine, stimulate root cells to open calcium ion channels. So instead of 1 ion at a time of calcium going into the roots, that ion channel is opened, 1,000 ions flow into the plant and are taken up in the transpiration stream to strengthen the plant. So I asked them in the Netherlands, is it the calcium? They looked at me and said, it's the calcium. But it's not giving the plants more calcium that makes them stronger. Calcium that's locked up very easily in the root zone. It locks up with phosphorus. It locks up with sulfates. It locks up in the soil and becomes unavailable. The idea is to aid with the uptake of the calcium, get it into the plant where it can do the most good. So amino acids will aid with calcium uptake for thicker stems, thicker cell walls, more resistance to pest and disease. Also, it strengthens the vascular system of the plant so the plant can take up water and all of the other elements more efficiently. In my experiments in the lab, I was doing leaf samples. I was testing the Brix first. The Brix was so far above premium quality that statistically I'd have to create another category for it. Why? Because the more efficiently plants take up water and minerals, the higher the Brix. Also, I did leaf samples for all of the essential elements. Every essential element, even nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium, and even the trace elements were at higher levels in the leaf than the control, because the plant was able to take up more of the other elements because of a secondary effect of the calcium uptake. So the effects of the amino acid blend were so profound for plant protection that the Dutch government 1 year later approved that biostimulant product as a plant protection agent. And I was lucky. I got to see the results of the trials even before the Dutch government did. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that all amino acids aren't created equal. What we're looking for are L amino acids. Those are made in nature's kitchen. It's a process called chirality. Some molecules could have left-handed form or a right-handed form. Only the L amino acids, the left-handed form, are biologically active. So watch for that on the label. It needs to be made through enzymatic hydrolysis. In other words, digestive enzymes from microorganisms. Nature has been doing this without our help for millions of years, helping the plant take up calcium. Well, L amino acids are biologically active, and they're made through digestive enzymes called proteases. A protease is a digestive enzyme that breaks down proteins into the building blocks of proteins called amino acids, but they retain their left-handed orientation. If we try to make amino acids synthetically through acid hydrolysis or alkaline hydrolysis, we could make amino acids, but they would be right-handed amino acids and they would not be biologically active. So sometimes when you look at a label, it won't say amino acids, it may say protein hydrosylates instead. But if they are, they're L amino acids made in nature's kitchen. But amino acids aren't the only ingredient in organic biostimulants, even in the ones they were using for plant protection. It also contained kelp extracts. Now, kelp extracts are rich in natural growth hormones and have over 62 beneficial trace elements from the sea. Kelp extracts can be used in several ways. You can use them as a seed soak to improve seed germination. You can use it as a root drench to improve lateral root growth and root mass. And you can even use it as a foliar spray to improve lateral bud development. The key hormones in kelp extracts are auxins, cytokinins, and gibberellic acids. Now, gibberellins aid in seed germination. That's because of the hormones. Gibberellic acids are part of the process, they initiate the process for seed germination. So if you have some older seeds that maybe weren't stored quite properly, soak them in a kelp extract solution. You'll have earlier germination and a better overall germination rate. Kelp extracts can also be used as a root stimulant. It's the main ingredient in some of the expensive root stimulants that are on the market. That's because it's high in auxins and cytokinins. Auxins are the rooting hormone. It initiates rooting. It tells the plant, make roots. So if you use it as a root drench, you'll get more lateral root development. But the real key, the biggest key to kelp extracts is that they're very, very high in cytokinins. In biology, cytokinesis means cell division. Cytokinins are the hormone that stimulate cell division. So when you use them at the roots, it stimulates cell division of root cells. You get more lateral root growth and more root mass. Now that's important. If you have a sponge of roots, actively growing roots, plants can take up calcium more efficiently because calcium is only taken up on part of the microscopic root hairs, just the unsuberized part. If you have more lateral root growth and more root hairs, you're going to have better uptake of iron. And iron is a catalyst for chlorophyll production, the green pigment. So either way, if you stimulate active root growth from the beginning to the end of a plant's growth, you're going to have better uptake of nutrients. So it's very important to have a sponge of roots so the plants can take up water more effectively, they can take up nutrients more effectively, and they can produce more sugars for high brix plants. And finally, you can use kelp as a foliar spray. If you spray cytokinins on the leaves, it'll break the apical dominance. That's the top growth, but it stimulates lateral bud development. So the plants will be a little shorter, but they'll be bushier. Also, cytokinins literally pull nutrients into the tissue. They pull in the sugars. They pull in the amino acids. They pull in the water and essential elements. So even after you stop using kelp as a foliar spray, it has a downstream effect on colors, aromas, and flavors. Now, one caution. If you use kelp extracts as a foliar spray, make sure you use it no more than once a week. Once every 2 or 3 weeks will still have a beneficial effect on the plant. If you overuse it, use too much or use it too often, you overstimulate cell division. One of the byproducts of cell division is heat, so you could burn your plants. So when it comes to kelp extracts, less is more. Low dose, fine foliar spray, no more than once a week in application. You'll have excellent results. If you want the kelp extracts to work even better, combine it with humic and fulvic acids. Now, Virginia Tech did a 10-year study on organic biostimulants, and they found that 5 parts humic acid with 2 parts kelp works 50% better than either product alone. And there's several reasons for that. One of the first is, though, that the humic and fulvic acid are intermediate chelators. Chela means claw. So a chelate is an organic molecule that attaches to an element like a claw. It holds it tightly enough so it doesn't lock up with other minerals, but loosely enough so it's available to the plant on demand. Not only does humic acid hold on to the minerals, though, it also holds on to the auxins, the rooting hormones, in an exchangeable form, so they become more available to the plant. It's like an amplifier for the effects of the kelp extracts. Humic acid is mined from leonardite. That's a derivative from ancient compost piles from the prehistoric ages. And it has a combination of different chelating molecules in it. It has the large molecules, that's the humic acid fraction, and it has small biologically active molecules called the fulvic acid fraction. They combine together and they have different effects on the plants. The humic acid fraction actually forms a bridge between clay particles in the soil, which are negatively charged, and the mineral nutrients, like potassium, that aids with the uptake of the potassium and other nutrients. The fulvic acid fraction are the smaller, more biologically active fraction. They tend to surround and complex other minerals, so they work together very nicely. In nature, humic and fulvic acid have other benefits. They literally help buffer pH. Humic and fulvic acids raise the pH of acid soil and lower the pH of alkaline soil. So it moderates the root zone, makes it easier for the plant to take up molecules such as iron. Now, iron is very unavailable to the plant, and many times it's the limiting factor. But humic and fulvic acid goes one step further. It not only helps chelate the iron to keep it from locking up, from oxidizing, it also stimulates an enzyme in the cell membrane called H plus ATPase. H plus ATPase is a proton pump. So the humic acid stimulates the pump. The pumps protons to the outside of the cell membrane. The outside of the cell membrane becomes more positively charged. The inside of the cell membrane becomes more negatively charged. The voltage potential across the membrane increases. The plant uses that for energy to take up some of those transition molecules like iron, copper, manganese, and zinc. Plant takes up more iron. It's a catalyst to make more chlorophyll. Plant makes more chlorophyll. It stimulates the genes of the plant to make more chloroplasts, which store the chlorophyll. Make more chloroplasts, the plant harvests more light energy. Harvests more light energy, makes more sugars. Some of those sugars are used for energy to grow and reproduce. Some are stored in the flowers and in the fruit. Some are leaked from the roots to feed the plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. Some are stored in the roots for stored energy for the plant can use to burn to take in phosphorus and potassium. You see the cycle? You see how just a very small change at the root zone, improving the uptake of trace elements, has a dramatic effect on quality and yield, growing high brix plants. That's why when the Dutch used the organic biostimulants, they had the highest brick in the line. They were first in the line at the greenery. The greenery is the market for produce in the Netherlands. They were first in the line for sugar content in the fruit. Low, medium, and high brix equate to low, medium, and high quality. By using organic biostimulants, not only do we increase yield by 10 or 20%, we can also increase the quality. Now for the good part. When you work with nature, there are often positive side effects that we never even anticipate in our initial research. And one of those discoveries Virginia Tech made along the way when they combined the fulvic acid, humic acid, and the kelp extracts. And that was that it improved the plant's resistance to environmental stress. Now, they found out when they combined 5 parts humic acid with 2 parts kelp that it stimulated the plant to make 50% more of an enzyme that protects the plants against environmental stress, against heat stress, salt stress, drought stress, UV stress from the lights. It protects the cell membranes. And that enzyme is called superoxide dismutase. Superoxide dismutase breaks damaging free radicals when we're pushing our plants to high production, high intensity lights, or using the organic biostimulants in general. When plants are stimulating more cellular metabolism for growth, they're stimulating more photosynthesis to harvest light energy. Some of the byproducts are reactive oxygen species, such as superoxide. And superoxide attacks the cell membranes. It attacks the chloroplast membranes. That's where photosynthesis happens. It attacks the mitochondrial membranes. That's where cellular metabolism happens. But if you have superoxide dismutase, it breaks those free radicals. It sponges them and protects the membranes. So you're protecting the power plant of the cell for photosynthesis and for metabolism and the cell membranes, so the plant can continue to take up water and minerals more efficiently. So one of the benefits to using organic biostimulants is to condition your plants against stress before the stress happens. If you do, the plants will stay green longer because the chlorophyll is stored in the chloroplast membranes, and the plants will recover from the stress faster. When you combine humic and fulvic acids with kelp extracts, you're also adding about 62 beneficial trace elements. Those aren't the elements that are in your fertilizer. These are beneficial that improve the flavors and colors and aromas, that improve the plant's resistance to some of the insects and to diseases. They activate enzymes that are plant protection agents. Remember, a few minutes ago, we talked about superoxide dismutase, that molecule that protects the plant against stress. Well, that molecule has to be turned on by either a copper-zinc complex or an iron-manganese complex. So by combining the biostimulants, the plants take up more of those trace elements. One molecule of superoxide dismutase, if it's turned on, can do over 1,000 chemical reactions per second inside the cell, sponging those free radicals. If it's turned off, it does 0 chemical reactions per second. Now, if everything's perfect in your environment, it won't make that much difference because the plant is able to make superoxide dismutase to protect itself. But if you start to get into some stressful conditions, the plant can't keep up with the free radicals. So that's an insurance policy for your plants. Things aren't always perfect, at least not in my grow room. Sometimes it's a little too hot. Maybe the plants are growing into the lights a little bit. But if you can anticipate the needs of the plant, you know a hot time of the year is coming. You know the plants normally suffer. Add the biostimulants before the stressful time. It will help the plant to produce 50% more of the plant protection agents it needs the most. The next ingredient that's added to almost every organic biostimulant are B vitamins. A B complex, B1, B2, B3, B6, maybe even a few others like B5 or biotin. They have an effect on cellular metabolism. Now by themselves, they're not going to do a lot for the plant. But in conjunction with the other biostimulants that they've been talking about, they can have a beneficial effect. Microorganisms in the root zone make B vitamins because B vitamin derivatives activate enzymes for cellular metabolism. That's the releasing the energy that's stored up in the sugars. So microorganisms make B vitamins for their metabolism, but it has a secondary effect on the plant. Now, the direct effect for the microorganisms is cellular metabolism. They start to vibrate with energy as they feed on the exudates from the plant. And as they're vibrating with energy, they start to divide. Pop, pop, pop. And as the microorganisms are actively dividing, they manufacture biostimulants right on the surface of the roots. That's why they can have a secondary effect on the plants. They make rooting hormones on the surface of the roots to tell the plant, make more roots. They make organic acids and enzymes that aid with the uptake of iron and copper and manganese and zinc that activate their metabolism again, that have an effect on turning on enzymes. They make siderophores that make iron more available to the plant. And they make growth hormones as well, cytokinins and auxins. So if we stimulate the metabolism of microorganisms, we are stimulating the production of organic biostimulants, so the effects continue throughout the plant's growth. Now, B vitamins do have one direct effect on plant cells. They stimulate what's called the plant's systemic induced response. Now, that means it primes the plant. It sensitizes the immune system of the plant. So if the plant is under attack, say by a root pathogen or a fungal pathogen, if the plant comes under stress, the plant's natural immune system is activated very quickly because it's sensitized. It's on high alert, waiting for something to happen. So it doesn't take away from the energy of the plant to protect itself. It stimulates growth until it's under attack, and then the immune system clicks in. So the best time to use B vitamins, just like the humic and fulvic acid in the kelp, is before the stress. After the stress is already happening, they're already starting to suffer, it may not do much good. It may help a little in recovery, but if you use it before the stress, that's when it's going to be an insurance policy for your plants. So almost every biostimulant product on the market has a little bit of B vitamins in it. Now, if you're only going to use one biostimulant out of all the things we talked about today, use the kelp, because kelp has B vitamins in it already, naturally. Kelp has the hormones in it already, naturally. And kelp has amino acids in it. So just one thing, kelp, but combine it with the other ingredients we talked about today. They'll have a synergistic effect, an amplifying effect on each other. It'll be a super tonic. One final ingredient to make it a perfect mix, Yaka extracts. That's the secret ingredient that I found when I was making some of my first biohydroponic fertilizers, where I combined the minerals and the biostimulants. In concentrated form, the minerals and the biostimulants, organics, don't play well together. They have opposite characteristics, but I found when I added yucca, it kept everything together in suspension. That's because yucca is a natural wetting agent. It makes water wetter. It breaks the polarity of the water molecules. So when I add it to my biohydroponic fertilizers, or I add it to my biostimulant blends and tonics, add it at the root zone, the water will disperse through the whole root zone more efficiently, getting to all of the developing root hairs. If I use it as a foliar spray, though, it breaks up the water molecules so it doesn't beat up on the waxy surface of the leaves. Instead of beating up on the leaves, it spreads out in a thin film, so it's more efficiently utilized by the plant. So if you use Yaka extracts, all of the biostimulants, all of those biologically active molecules spread out in the root zone so they get to all of the developing root hairs. And if you use it as a foliar, it spreads out in a film, it's more evenly absorbed and utilized by the plants. So the plants will transport the trace elements and the hormones through the cell membranes, release them inside the cell where they're needed the most. So I started my journey into biostimulants by my first trip to the Netherlands, where I was inspired about the potential of organic biostimulants and in the future of agriculture. Years later, after all my research, I got to go back to the Netherlands, tell them about the work I was doing in biostimulants, with organic biostimulants, with amino acids, with some of the new tonics I was putting together from the results of research. But while I was there, on that second trip to the Netherlands, I was able to take a side trip to Belgium, to one of the most prestigious research greenhouses in all of Europe. And they were doing some of the first trials on bloom stimulants to improve fruit and flower production in commercial crops. Now, while I was there at that greenhouse, they were doing their trials with sweet peppers. The control, the ones grown in Rockwool with just mineral nutrients, were 12 feet tall, loaded with peppers. And according to the scientists, that was the genetic potential of the crop. They said if we do these trials and see a 2% increase in yield, it would be statistically significant. Well, when I was there, halfway through the trial, they were already at 10% increase in yield and rising. So it was a significant improvement over just the plant nutrition. That's why biostimulants are so important. They improve the uptake of the water and minerals that are provided at the roots in the fertilizer. When they were doing the trials, they did it two ways. They'd have the biostimulants at the roots, and they added the biostimulants as a foliar spray. So I'd recommend doing both. If you mix up a foliar spray with your biostimulants and you have some left over after the foliar spray, use it at the roots. You stimulate more root growth, it'll aid with the uptake of the nutrients. You use it as a foliar, it'll pull the nutrients into the developing tissue. Put them together, you have push and pull. Very efficient use of fertilizer by the plant. Now, how does it work? One of the secrets of the biostimulants are what's called a zinc finger transcription factor. Plants take up sulfates through the roots, but they assimilate the sulfur in the leaves, right in the chloroplast, right where photosynthesis is happening, because it takes energy. But when they take in the sulfates, they convert them into an amino acid called cysteine. Cysteine contains sulfur for sulfhydryl bonds. Now, 4 cysteine molecules attach to one zinc ion and create what's called a zinc finger transcription factor. That molecule goes into the cell, into the nucleus, attaches to the DNA, and turns on a series of genes that tells the plant, don't make more stems and leaves, make flowering parts. So you're able to stimulate more bloom, bigger blooms, more fruit production, and higher quality fruit as well. So halfway through the trial, they were already at 10% increase. When I saw the finished report, it was as high as 20% increase in fruit and flowers using the same fertilizer, using the same light, using the same environment. So this is the new frontier in plant nutrition. But it wasn't just more fruit and flowers. The quality of the fruit and flowers improved as well. Heavier fruit. with more shelf life, as much as 2 weeks more shelf life. So we were growing the best of the fruit. Now, while I was in the Netherlands, I also went to some commercial pepper producers that were growing super high quality produce for the markets in New York City. And they were growing, again, they were growing the best of the best. And I was taking pictures in the greenhouse, including some of the other plants they were doing on the side. But while I was there, he said, "Why are you taking a picture of the big plants?" I said, "Wow, in the United States, our pepper plants are 3 feet tall. You have 12-foot tall pepper plants." He said, "You should be taking a picture of the bottom of the plant." I said, "What?" And he showed me down at the very bottom of that 12-foot tall pepper plant, there was a vegetative sucker, just a shoot. It had 3 sets of peppers on it. He told me, that's not normal. Usually that's just stems and leaves. But because we triggered the genes of the plants, even though they wanted to make just a shoot at the bottom, it was growing fruit and flowers instead. And that's how I know in my own gardens that the biostimulants are working. If I look at the very bottom of my plant, even 2 inches from the soil or the hydroponic surface, whatever I'm growing in, I see a little crook. There's a bud in there already. I say, that's the biostimulants. So if that's what's happening at the bottom of the plant, just imagine what's happening at the top of the plant in the canopy with the full light and the full vigor of the plant. Well, this is an exciting time for adventures and new frontiers in plant nutrition, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Please apply what you learn and build upon the information that you've received today. We have a huge need for the future. First of all, we need to discover new signal molecules, new transcription factors. Nature has all of the answers if you know where to look. There are volatile combinations and volatile organic compounds right now being produced by microorganisms underneath our feet that can trigger hundreds of genes in the plant to tell the plant take up more iron, or tell the plant to continue to make sugars, improve the efficiency of photosynthesis. We need to study the dynamics between plant growth promoting rhizobacteria and the plant. We need to learn more about the biochemistry of the root zone. We also need to bridge the gap between organic and mineral plant nutrition, like with the humic acids. That's just part of it, making the bridge between the soil particles and the minerals, making it easier for the plant to take up the minerals from the soil, to unlock the phosphorus, feed it to the plant, to improve the uptake of the trace elements and even other elements like the nitrate nitrogen, so we can cut our fertilizers in half and increase quality and yield at the same time. We need to improve the plant's natural resistance to pest and disease. As scientists, we can't just keep inventing new poisons that stop working after a while. We can't keep contaminating our own food supply. We need to work with nature to improve the plant's natural resistance to pest and disease so we can reduce or eliminate the need for pesticides and fungicides, but protect the crop at the same time. We need to learn new ways to condition the plants against environmental stress so we can grow more food with fewer resources. Also, we need to learn how to improve the nutritional value of food and the medicinal value of our medicines. It's really a shame to say this, but the food we eat today has less nutrition than the food that our grandparents grew. Why? Because our grandparents were working with nature, improving the uptake of those trace elements. So we can do it too. If we just keep growing high-calorie food with lower nutrition, we're going to set ourselves up for more diseases in the future. So food is medicine, and medicine is also produced by plants. It's very critical if you're growing medicinal herbs that you have the ideal levels of trace elements such as iron and manganese that activate enzymes that produce the medicinal compounds. So we need to improve the nutritional value of food, the medicinal characteristics of our medicine, so that we can feed the world in an environmentally responsible way. Thank you for attending the Biostimulant class. I hope you can apply what you learn, and I hope to see you in future classes.